Oh, well, here it was. Columbus, Ohio, July 9th. Phish summer tour. I got off the couch, went to a show, met some fans, met quite a few fans actually. People come up, said hello. It was very fun from right from the get-go too. I hadn't even put the car in park yet. I saw a bro on a skateboard. We kind of made eye. I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to hit anybody when I'm making my so I think it's a weird parking job, and then I eventually backed into my spot. So anyhow, me and this guy see each other, and it must have just been Mary and I just had to go to the bathroom right away. Our first goal was to find a porta potty and use it. So we hadn't even parked yet, and I'm already running into fans, and I must have must have had a bad expression on my face. In fact, I had several bad interactions tonight. Every one of them was my fault too. They were all on me. I don't get out very often, Put me in social situations. I dropped some duds like I did tonight. So this guy, I could tell he saw me. He wanted to say hi, but then he was like, okay, well then I guess I won't. But then I think my body language must have been like, oh, come on, man, not now. But I didn't really mean it. I was just kind of like, hey, let me park. I don't want to hit you, dude. Look out. So I got out of the car, said what's up to him. I just felt like it just got off on the wrong foot, though. The first fan that was nice enough to come up and say hi, I kind of gave him the cold shoulder unintentionally. So then as we were going over to the bathroom too, many more fans, not to make this all about me, but if you don't like this part, just skip forward a couple of minutes. I'll eventually talk about the show. So anyhow, it's a big deal, man. I only get out to a show or two a year. They come through my neck of the woods. And so then when we were headed to the storm into the bathroom, there was several people said hi. I didn't really stop, though, man. We were on the move. So if you were one of the people that I didn't even really stop for and just kept going, gave you a over-the-shoulder hello. And then that drunk woman with me, that was my wife, Mary. She, in fact, was not drunk. She just has MS, and, she gets out in the heat, moving around a lot. She looks a little, her balance gets a little off. That also was the seating tonight. If you happen to see me in the seats, there was please no shaming. I sat down the entire show. She did the Nutter Center with me, and she stood the entire show. And with MS, it was not very comfortable for her. That show really kicked her ass. So I said, hey, we'll get some ADA seats, and I will sit down with you the entire time. Because she just felt like a loser sitting down. When we were at those Nutter Center shows. So she suffered through it and stood for me, and, she just didn't want to look like a bump on a log at the show. So I was like, hey, we're going to get these seats, and I'm just going to sit down the entire time. That way, no, you won't feel like a bump on a log. We both are. Here, I'm supposed to be some big fan, And there were moments. Oh, the one thing that was going to keep me sitting, though, was the low glass. Oh, my. I was right on the rail up in the 300s. And boy, that glass is low. Not to bring up a bad situation, but I could really see how the situation at the Chase Center unfolded. Easily could have happened there tonight. And then that was my another bad interaction I had with a fan. There was a guy right there in my section, one of the neighbors. He wanted to chat a little bit before the show. And I know I was being really short with him and giving him like one-word answers, but he was standing right by that low glass. And this was an older gentleman, and he may have been in that section with some mobility issues. I don't know for sure. But I just was like, oh no, dude, this guy's going to die. This guy's going to die. This guy's going to die. He's going to fall to his death. Oh my God, this guy's going to die. That's pretty much all I could think of when the guy was trying to talk to me. Ran into Pinky again, too. Some of you guys might know Pinky. He's been on the scene for a long time, apparently. Ran into Pinky, met him at Wrigley Field way back, 8-9 years ago now. And Pinky, again, my problem with Pinky was, well, it was my problem. Looked like Pinky had an injured eye, or something was going on with Pinky's eye. And I just was like staring right at the bad eye. I am so sorry, Pinky. That is not cool at all. I don't know, but I just couldn't help it. But it was so cool running into you again, though. Like, what a small world, Go to see a guy almost a decade later. It's like, there he was. I almost called him Winky. All right, that was a low blow. I'm sorry. I just apologized for staring at your bad eye, and then I just called you Winky. But Pinky is a good dude. He seems like a good dude. In fact, he is a good dude. I've met him twice now. And then there's another neighbor that I met, a guy. He said when I was coming back to my seat, I think before the show, did something. I don't know. I did a little recon, maybe checking where's the elevator, man. Where's the men's room? Where's the nearest Pepsi and pretzel? So when I was coming back from the recon mission, this guy stopped me and said hello. We talked for a moment. And then I think at set break, he came over to chat a little bit. I think he even said, hey, man, I watch you every morning. You might as well come over and chat for a moment. I extended my hand and said, nice meeting you. I had just met him, like, just not that long ago. And it was almost like a, hey, not now, nice meeting you, which was, again, was not my intention. He turned around and went right back to his seat. I told Mary, I was like, I don't think I handled that well. I think that guy wanted to talk, and I feel like I ran him off or something. But one that did go well was I met young Silas. I don't know, some of you may, if you pay attention to the comment section, a few videos back, Silas reached out, said he's 13, he's going to be at the show, and he'd like to meet me. I was like, well, if I can make that happen, I certainly will go over. I'm a big fan of the young fans, you know. They're the next generation of fans. You know, we need young fans to keep the band going, right? I believe the children are our future. You know, we should treat them well, show them the way, or something like this, you know? So anyhow, so it was great meeting Silas, and his parents were there with him. He was fired up. It was his 4th show. They referred to me as Ohio guy, which is accurate. I mean, it's a fact. I've certainly been called way worse by Phish fans, my own friends, my wife. Been called a lot worse than Ohio guy, that's for sure. And yeah, I think that may have been the only good meeting I had with a fan on. Maybe some other fans I met, things went well, were pretty smooth. But most of the meetings, maybe I do need to get out to some more shows, you know. I'm like, it's a little rusty. Like sometimes how Phish can be. All right, so now let's finally get to the show. Oh my God, almost 7 minutes. I'm so sorry. And it was really a tale of two sets for me. And there was a little bit all over the place, you know. And the first set I thought was really fantastic. The playing was great, like a song like Petrichor coming out of nowhere. Not a big fan of Petrichor. I was in the house for Petrichor one other time, Charleston. They opened up with it. Ruined the entire show for everyone. But, you know, a lot of time has passed. Petrichor is now rare and certainly much more easier to absorb for me rather than when we're getting it all the time. Like back when it first debuted and the album came out. It was Petrichor. Every city got a Petrichor, I think. So the fact that it was a bust out here tonight, it was certainly much more welcome. You know, those first few notes, I was like, Petrichor? What? Why are they playing this, was my thought. But it was good, and you could tell they certainly weren't just winging it. There was some rehearsal involved there. But let's not start with there. We'll go all the way back to the beginning with AC/DC Bag, a fine opener. Again, second time I believe already they've opened up with AC/DC Bag. Roggae, I think, making its summer debut, and a much stronger Roggae than the last few. I think Vultures, again, maybe, I don't know how much they would need to practice Vultures, but it certainly seemed like they gave it a lap or two before they just came out on stage. Martian Monster, was probably my most excited moment up until this point. You know, the opening notes to Martian Monster, I kind of wish it was the opener. They could have switched that in AC/DC Bag, but then they laid a little bit of a dud. I think Martian Monster was all that. Really, not a whole lot happening there other than Page and his sampling. Mull it over. It's time for Mike. You know, the address here, 555 Columbus, Ohio. Some road. Boror. It was not 555 tonight. It was Mike Gordon's Mull it over, and boy, was it good. Like this was my first point. I was thinking, hey, I kind of have to go to the bathroom. Should I go now? You could start to see some people leaving too, and I was thinking, all right, now's not a good time. Maybe I'll wait a song or two. And I am glad I did. And if you decided to take Mull it over as your bathroom opportunity, you kind of made a mistake there, because that was the very first SETI song, kind of stayed within Mull. And, man, it just kind of had a run to it, just leading up to a big crescendo, taking us into Strawberry Letter 23. That is when, about halfway through that, I decided I'm going to go to the bathroom. Absolutely nobody out there. Got there. I left after the song started, and I got back at the very end, just in time for Undermind, another former first set all-star that's been somewhat missing over the last few years. Maybe not missing totally, but less play time for sure, as new songs have moved in. And Undermind was very strong. But up to this point, AC/DC, that first 3 songs really, AC/DC Bag, Roggae, Vultures, all very strong. We got wooed to death in Vultures. Fishman tried to push through it, you know, just hitting them with a beat that they couldn't woo to. It didn't matter. They wooed anyhow. Thanks for trying, Fishman. And then, yeah, the Petrichor comes after the Undermind, which I already mentioned. A very well played Petrichor, and nice to hear. And then Life Saving Gun going the distance, taking it all the way to up to almost a 90-minute set, nearly a 20-minute Life Saving Gun. The first time of the night. Now, where my seats were, I did not get the light show at all. A little bit of the on stage light show. But as far as the in the arena light show, I was not a part of that. But what I could see is the lights at work. And boy, they could almost be distracting at times. Like, I mean, they're up and down, they're tilting, they're like kind of snaking. Then there's just all this rope and wire coming down, but then as the slack is no longer needed, it's like perfectly wrapping itself somehow. I was just completely fascinated. Like, how's that not getting hung up? Like, what's going to happen when that gets like, I can't even go over here and water my rose bushes once without getting 4 fucking knots in my hose. I just did not understand how this was working. And then next thing you know, I'm like, oh, wow, Life Saving Gun is taking off again. But there were definitely moments where I would just get fixated on those lights and just watching them and kind of lose focus on the music, where the music kind of came secondary and I wasn't even really getting the full light show. So yeah, Life Saving Gun, a big 20-minute Life Saving Gun ending the first set, taking us over to Sample in a Jar. So both set openers, something we've already gotten this year. Meaning we've already gotten them as set openers. AC/DC Bag first set again, Sample in a Jar second set, and then Wave of Hope in the 2-hole in the second set. And I would be lying if I was like, say, if I was real excited about this Wave of Hope being the song. I wonder, like, what is it going to be tonight? I feel like a lot of them were used up in Boulder, you know, your usual suspects here. Although they have been changing that up a little bit, but Wave of Hope, even though knowing that, like, this is probably going to be awesome, this where it's located in the set and show, the fact that Wave of Hope usually is great, I just don't know if I was, like, maybe I got off on the wrong foot, just not wanting this to happen. Just wanting it to be something else. So that was a bit of a mistake on my part. And then, yeah, of course, there was a lot going on in the jam. The crazy light fixture again. I lost focus on the music for a few minutes watching all of that, thinking, oh no, is this the time it falls and takes out the people on the rail? Never happened. Everybody on the rail was safe and sound. And then, boy, once they hit that big crescendo, probably even like the second or third one in Wave of Hope, but it was a massive final crescendo, taking us into Waiting All Night. You know, Petrichor was more welcomed. Waiting All Night, not really. You know, I never really was a Waiting All Night guy. I don't want to hear about Mike Gordon and his bass and Waiting All Night, whatever. Plenty of other Phish songs where Mike can flex. So even with the time off, I'm still not into Waiting All Night. This is where things start to go a little downhill, because then Axilla 2, now I didn't know we were going to get a quick run through Axilla 2, but I was not wanting another jammed out Axilla 2, for Christ's sakes, you know. Enough with that song is what I was thinking. But then they come back with a 20-plus minute Piper, and just kind of taking it through so many different, not even really so many layers. I mean, I guess it probably wasn't maybe... it didn't get as wild as the Wave of Hope. And at first I was like, oh, are we finally going to get the much to ask for slow build Piper? No, absolutely not. They kind of got into it rather quickly. And then once it got going, it really never did back off too much. I mean, it wasn't foot to the floor the whole time. But then once again, like the other big ones on the night, they knew how to hit a crescendo tonight. That's for sure. A peak, if you will. And then now we're back. Now look at this ending. Lonely Trip. All right, after that Smoking Piper, they needed a little break, but Lonely. And then there was the whole, you know, we finally meet at last. They're back in Columbus, you know. Backwards down the number line. All right, I'm like, hey, people tell me this thing rocks. Loving Cup. Oh my God, now we're 4 out of the last 5 or something. 5 out of the last 6 songs. I'm just like, oh man. Still at a Phish show. I'm still having a great time. Fucking Bug Encore. I was like, that's it. Let's go. You ready to go? Let's hit it. I've been telling myself all week, been telling people on live streams, members, I'm staying for the encore. We got this great situation where we're parked. I have no need to leave early, man. I'll still be out of here in plenty of time. They lost me at Bug. I was like, that's it. I was like, they're probably going to play something else too, man, but I don't care. It's been such a good time. It's just going downhill fast. Let's just get the hell out of here, man, before it all goes to hell. And then I see on the way home, I missed Mango Song and Run Like an Antelope. Pretty bummed about the Mango Song, even more so than the Antelope. I don't think I've caught a Mango Song live, I don't believe, since 2003. I've had plenty of Antelopes along the way. I believe it was show number 40 for me tonight. Second time I've pulled this encore mistake. Can't even blame Mary. I'd like to blame Mary. Be like, the wife, the MS, we had to go. Not really. She looked surprised. She was like, what are you talking about, you fraud? You've been telling me all week it's going to be a long night, baby. We're staying. Fucking bug, man. I was like, that's it. I'm out of here. The Loving Cup, I laughed my way through it. I was like, of course they'd play Loving Cup. Fucking chompers. The crowd loved it, too. Probably the most excited the crowd was all night, for sure. For sure, the crowd was alive for Loving Cup. Like I said, I just laughed my way through it. I wasn't upset yet. I was getting there, though. It all started with Waiting All Night. Even the Wave of Hope being Wave of Hope, and that was my problem there, though. I should have just been like, this is going to rule. Let's go. Waiting All Night. Lonely. Look, the 20-minute Piper in there certainly brought me back. Now, if that had been like a Velvet Sea or a Soul Planet or something, I might have been thrown. Like earlier, I was afraid a guy was going to fall. I would have been throwing people over that glass. Anybody that was getting down to number line, I'd have been like, "Phoo! Game over! Woo-hoo-hoo!" All right, I love you guys. Thank you for putting up with this 16.5-minute video. We give you a big boom. Thanks to everybody that did come up and said hello. Thank you to the people that gave me the drive-by, or even to the people that I gave the drive-by to, that I didn't stop and say hello. Took a couple selfies. I don't know if you're on Instagram or anything. You can send me a picture. I'm into it. Tag me. I don't know, DM, whatever. You don't have to. I don't know how you send people pictures these days anymore. Not giving you my phone number, that's for sure. Silas, big boom to you. Silas's 4th show. Did he make it all the way? I bet you Bug even ran him and his family out of there, man. You can only take so much. All right, guys, I love you. Boom, we're out of here. Good fishing.